Today, I want to focus on what may be one of the most important questions surrounding this ongoing conflict. It's not about who appears to be ahead, how many strikes have occurred, or what statements have been made by political leaders in recent days. The deeper question is this: is it actually possible for the United States to bring this situation to an end? Can a ceasefire be reached? Is there a realistic path toward de-escalation? When we look at this carefully, the situation appears more complex than it might initially seem. Many analysts believe that the United States is facing a difficult position, one where moving forward, stepping back, or maintaining the current approach all come with serious challenges. In this video, we'll break this down step by step in a clear and simple way. Part 1. How conflicts develop momentum. One of the most important things to understand about large-scale conflicts is that, once they begin, they often develop their own momentum. Over time, decisions are no longer made in isolation. Instead, they are influenced by previous actions, public expectations, and strategic commitments. We've seen similar patterns in other conflicts. In many cases, even when opportunities for negotiation exist, reaching an agreement can be extremely difficult. This is because any resolution may require one or both sides to accept outcomes that are politically or strategically uncomfortable. As a result, conflicts can continue far longer than expected, not necessarily because there are no solutions, but because those solutions are difficult to accept. Many experts suggest that this situation could follow a similar pattern, where both sides remain committed to their positions, even if a prolonged conflict creates increasing costs over time. Part 2. The challenge of a ceasefire. Now let's consider the possibility of a ceasefire. In theory, negotiations are always an option. However, in practice, agreements depend on the conditions both sides are willing to accept. Analysts often point out that in conflicts like this, proposed terms can include significant economic, political, or strategic demands. These may involve issues such as compensation, regional influence, or long-term security arrangements. The challenge is that accepting such terms may carry consequences that extend far beyond the immediate conflict. For example, changes in military presence or regional alliances could have wider effects on global stability, economic systems, and long-standing partnerships. This is why ceasefires, while desirable, are often complex and difficult to achieve in practice. Part 3. Broader global implications. Another key factor is how interconnected today's world has become. Decisions made in one region can influence outcomes in others. For instance, shifts in regional power dynamics can affect neighboring countries. Economic systems, such as energy markets and currency flows, can be impacted. Alliances may evolve as countries reassess their long-term strategies. Some experts suggest that major changes in one region could lead to adjustments in others, including Asia and Europe, where countries closely monitor global developments when making security decisions. This interconnected nature means that any major decision carries ripple effects, making the situation even more complex. Part 4. Military considerations. From a military perspective, analysts often highlight that modern conflicts are highly complex. Different countries prepare for different types of warfare, and strategies evolve over time. Some focus on rapid, high-intensity operations, while others develop approaches designed to counter those methods. Because of this, outcomes are rarely simple or predictable. Strategic planners typically evaluate multiple scenarios, each with its own risks and uncertainties. This is why discussions about potential outcomes often emphasize caution, as real-world situations can differ significantly from expectations. Part 5. The bigger picture. To truly understand this situation, it's important to look beyond a single conflict. Many experts view current global tensions as part of a larger shift in international relations. Economic competition, regional disputes, and evolving alliances all play a role. In such an environment, countries may need to balance multiple priorities at once, which can increase the difficulty of decision-making. Some analysts argue that long-term stability may depend on finding ways to manage these challenges through dialogue, cooperation, and carefully balanced strategies. So where does all of this leave us? After looking at the military dynamics, the economic considerations, and the broader geopolitical context, one thing becomes very clear. This situation is not simple and it is not likely to resolve quickly. What we are witnessing is not just a single conflict unfolding in isolation. Instead, it appears to be part of a much larger and more complex global transition, one where multiple factors are interacting at the same time, creating layers of uncertainty. And that uncertainty is what makes this moment so important. Because in periods like this, outcomes are rarely determined by a single event. They are shaped by a series of decisions, reactions, and adjustments made over time. Each step influences the next. Each decision opens some possibilities while closing others. And slowly, almost quietly, those decisions begin to shape the direction of the future. A world of interconnected decisions. One of the defining features of today's world is how interconnected everything has become. Economic systems are linked across continents. Security arrangements involve multiple countries at once. Technological and informational networks connect societies in real time. Because of this, events in one region rarely stay contained within that region. Instead, they create ripple effects. A shift in one area can influence energy markets somewhere else. A strategic decision can affect alliances in another part of the world. A policy change can alter economic expectations globally. This level of interconnectedness means that decisions are no longer purely local or regional. They carry global significance. And that is exactly why situations like this require careful consideration. The challenge of complexity. Another key aspect to understand is complexity. In earlier periods of history, conflicts were often more localized, with clearer boundaries and more defined outcomes. Today, however, the situation is different. Modern conflicts involve multiple layers: military considerations, economic dependencies, political relationships, public perception, long-term strategic positioning. All of these factors interact with one another. And because of that, even well-planned decisions can lead to unexpected outcomes. This does not mean that solutions are impossible, but it does mean they are rarely straightforward. Short-term actions versus long-term outcomes. One of the biggest challenges in situations like this is balancing short-term decisions with long-term consequences. In the short term, there is often pressure to act quickly, to respond to developments, to demonstrate strength or resolve, to reassure allies or address concerns. But decisions made under short-term pressure can sometimes create long-term challenges. A move that solves one problem today might create new problems tomorrow. That is why many experts emphasize the importance of considering not just immediate outcomes, but also how decisions will play out over time. The role of perception also plays a major role. In international relations, what countries believe about each other can be just as important as what is actually happening. If one country perceives another as weakening, it may adjust its strategy. If alliances appear uncertain, partners may begin to reconsider their positions. If actions are interpreted as escalation, responses may follow. These perceptions can influence decisions in powerful ways, and sometimes they can create feedback loops, where actions and reactions reinforce each other, making situations more difficult to manage. Global systems under pressure. Another important point is that global systems themselves are under pressure. These systems include trade networks, financial systems, security alliances, diplomatic frameworks. They have developed over decades, sometimes even generations. But like any system, they are not static. They evolve. And when they are placed under strain, they can begin to shift. This does not necessarily mean collapse. It often means transformation. However, transformation can be unpredictable. It can create opportunities, but it can also create instability during the transition. The importance of strategic patience. In situations like this, one concept that is often discussed is strategic patience. This means avoiding rushed decisions and allowing time for clearer outcomes to emerge. It involves careful evaluation, measured responses, long-term thinking. Strategic patience does not mean inaction. Instead, it means acting with awareness of timing and consequences, because sometimes waiting for the right moment can be more effective than acting immediately. The human factor. It's also important to remember that behind all of these systems and strategies are people, leaders, decision makers, analysts, and citizens, all play a role in shaping outcomes. Human judgment is a key factor. And human judgment is influenced by many things: Information available at the time, personal experience, political pressures, public expectations. This means that decisions are not made in a vacuum. They are made in real-world conditions, often with incomplete information and under significant pressure. Possible paths forward. When looking ahead, there are several broad possibilities. One possibility is gradual de-escalation. This could involve diplomatic engagement, confidence-building measures, incremental agreements. Another possibility is prolonged tension. In this scenario, the situation does not escalate dramatically, but it also does not fully resolve. Instead, it continues at a steady level, influencing global dynamics over time. A third possibility is further escalation. While this is generally seen as less desirable, it remains a risk in any complex situation where multiple factors are involved. It's important to note that these are not predictions, just potential pathways that analysts often consider. The role of cooperation. Many experts suggest that long-term stability may depend on cooperation. This does not necessarily mean agreement on all issues. Instead, it involves managing differences, finding common ground where possible, reducing the risk of misunderstanding. Cooperation can take many forms: diplomatic dialogue, economic agreements, security arrangements. Even limited cooperation can help reduce uncertainty and build trust over time. Learning from the past. History provides valuable lessons. Previous periods of tension have shown that outcomes are rarely determined by strength alone. They are shaped by strategy, adaptability, communication, timing. In many cases, the ability to adjust and respond effectively has been just as important as initial advantages. That is why understanding historical patterns can be helpful, not as a prediction, but as a guide. A moment of transition. What we may be seeing right now is a moment of transition, a period where existing systems are being tested, a period where assumptions are being questioned, a period where new dynamics are beginning to emerge. Moments like this are often uncertain, but they are also significant, because they shape what comes next. Why? This matters globally. This situation matters not just for the countries directly involved, but for the entire world, because global stability depends on predictable systems, reliable partnerships, balanced relationships. When uncertainty increases, it affects markets, policies, planning everyday life in different parts of the world. That is why developments like this are closely watched across the globe. The importance of perspective. Finally, perspective matters. It is easy to focus only on immediate events, but understanding the broader context helps provide clarity. It allows us to see how different factors connect, why decisions are made, what the potential implications might be. And that perspective is essential for making sense of complex situations. Final reflection. So, as we reach the end of this discussion, one thing stands out above all else. There are no simple answers. This is a situation shaped by multiple forces, evolving in real time, with outcomes that are still uncertain. What happens next will depend on decisions made carefully, thoughtfully, and with an awareness of both risks and opportunities. And while it is impossible to predict the future with certainty, one thing is clear. The choices made today will have lasting effects, not just for one country or one region, but for the global system as a whole.